Okay, so hi everyone, welcome to the financial aid webinar session today. My name is Aubrey Saturno. I'm a financial aid advisor, and I'm joined today by our wonderful Berkeley Law financial aid team. We have our director of financial aid, Lauren, our director of public interest financial support, Amanda, both of our associate directors, Jorge and Rosanna. They will be helping me in facilitating the session, answering your questions on the chat or through the live Q&A session built in within this presentation. So just a quick rundown. We do have two sections of this presentation, one being the updates on the gift aid process, and the other part being alternative resources, financial aid resources that are available to you. There's going to be two separate Q&A sessions for both sections. So I do ask that everyone leave their questions until then, or you can put them in the chat and our team will help in answering those questions for you. Without further ado, let's get started. All right. So gift aid process update, namely reconsideration. The reconsideration application has been open for about a month now, and it's going to stay open until April 29th. We do want to remind you all that this is an ongoing review process and that notifications that are being sent out will be on a rolling basis. The evaluation committee aims at responding to everyone within 2 weeks of submission, unless you have a certain deadline that you put in for your competing offer, which they are trying to respond to you by that deadline. But we do also want to remind you that it is not guaranteed, just because there's a lot of applications that are coming in, and the review process is very thorough. So just wanted to put that out there. At this time, there are no extensions that we're going to be granting for your gift aid offer acceptance deadline. So please do keep that in mind. For those of you who have not yet submitted your reconsideration application, we do ask that you submit those at least 5 days before the competing offer, if that is the choice that you're highlighting on the application, just so it gives time for the evaluation team to review. But yeah, I've also linked a recording to the reconsideration webinar that we held about a month ago, and a link to the gift aid FAQs, which answers general questions about the reconsideration process. And the webinar goes into detail about that as well. But with that, any questions about reconsideration, you're welcome to drop them in the chat, and our team will help answer it either in the chat or live right now. And I'll give around 5 minutes for questions to drop in. So it looks like no questions are coming in. In that case, we can, oh, there's one. How long is the latest for which the financial aid team may get back to students regarding reconsideration aid? Anyone want to answer that? I think someone's typing an answer, but
Yeah, hello, I can answer that question. So from what I have been informed from admissions, is that the last application, of course, being received April 29th, means most, if not everybody, will receive an answer by the first week of May is the goal. if not for sure by May 15th, which is when all decisions need to be in by. So basically, again, within a couple weeks is the goal, but if not, everybody will receive an answer otherwise by early May.
All right, thank you, Rosanna, for answering that question. We can move on now. If any other questions pops up, feel free to put them on the chat or wait until towards the end of the presentation to come up with your questions. I'm sure they'll come up as we go through. But yeah, let's move on. So aside from gift aid, what other alternative financial aid resources are available to me to fund my legal education? You do have other sources of gift aid within Berkeley law and also outside of Berkeley law. And we'll go through that, and we'll also go through the different kinds of loans that you can borrow to pretty much aid gift aid. Okay, so other sources of gift aid. We can get started off with campus's graduate division resources. The graduate division offers their own scholarships and fellowships, and they have a list that you can look through and navigate, identify which ones apply to you and which one may be something that you're interested in applying to, and send those applications. And you can also get fee remissions through assistantship academic positions. So if that's something that you're interested in, go to their website and look through. Berkeley Law has continuing student scholarships, and it is for rising 2Ls and 3Ls. And it opens annually every summer, sometime in June. It closes typically first week of July. And yeah, that is a scholarship opportunity for students who are close to completing their 1L year. So look out for that. Our outside agency scholarships, I've provided a barcode here for you, which leads you to a financial resources list. And that list pretty much contains not only the link to our outside agency scholarship webpage, but also links to pretty much every resource that I will talk about in today's presentation. So it'll link you to specific web pages regarding the scholarships or graduate division, and web pages to view details on those fee remissions if that's something you're interested in. So go ahead and take a picture of that barcode, list through. I've also added a few outside agency scholarships that have upcoming deadlines for you to browse through. But when you do get to our webpage, you can navigate through it by using the good old Control F and typing the word admit, and that pretty much filters all the scholarships that admitted students can apply to, and it highlights like the deadline for that. It links to the application process, whether that may be a PDF that you have to print out or it leads you to a certain page. Everything is going to be on there. Lastly, we also have public interest scholarships / fellowships for students who are committed to and or interested in pursuing a public interest career. The first one being summer EDLI grants. And what are summer EDLI grants? These grants are dedicated to students who are committed in doing pro bono work or qualifying volunteer work to get a summer grant. It's for 1Ls and 2Ls, and there is a minimum of, I believe, 25-hour requirement. If you look at our resource list, I've also linked an FAQ page, which goes into detail about summer EDLI grants. The next two fellowships are postgraduate fellowships. I know it's kind of too early in the game to think about post-graduation related resources, but I just wanted to throw it in there just kind of like for you all to think about and consider as you are preparing for your law school journey. And we have the Bridge Fellowship, which is a short-term fellowship for anyone any graduated student who are seeking full-time employment. And the Public Interest Fellowship is a year-long fellowship for any graduates who are working at a nonprofit or a governmental apprenticeship role. Um, lastly is our own loan repayment assistance program, which is great. Everyone should do LRAP. Um, and LRAP is essentially an assistance program that helps you repay your loans. The eligibility requirement is pretty much you would have to have been a graduate of Berkeley Law and work in qualifying employment. What that qualifying employment looks like has to be law related and public interest related positions. And it had like typically that would be in a nonprofit organization or some kind of governmental role. And pretty much the role has to make use of legal skills that you gained through your through attending law school, and most of the time the role has to require either passage of the bar and getting your JD. So if you want more information on LRAB, I did link the page on that resources list. Go through our handbook because it lists a lot more details on what qualifying employment is eligible for that and certain exceptions that could be made, etc. Next page. So the other primary source of funding your legal education would be through loans. I think everyone is aware that your financial aid package consists of your your gift aid plus any loans to make up your cost of attendance. And students always ask if there's a limit to how much loans they can borrow, and the short answer to that is yes. Just because of that cost of attendance, we cannot give you financial aid that is greater than your cost of attendance. And so for how much loans you're going to take or you're eligible to take, it's up to your cost of attendance minus any gift aid that you've been awarded and or you've received. So let's go through the different types. Federal direct loans. A lot of students elect to take out federal loans. And you would have to be FAFSA eligible to borrow federal loans. And there are the eligibility is defined as being a US citizen and or an eligible resident, I think, and that's usually permanent residents and or US nationals. But when I was looking through their page, there's a lot more under that qualification. So go through studentaid.gov and look through that list to see if you are FAFSA eligible. There are two types of federal direct loans that are available to graduate students, the unsubsidized loans and Grad Plus loans. And we typically advise students to use up their unsubsidized loans first, but that if they have to tap into their Grad Plus, they can do so after they've maxed out on that subsidized. And the max on that subsidized is $20,500 annually. The unsubsidized loan is the better loan of the two, just because it has lower origination fee and lower interest rates. And then for Grad Plus, it's the larger loan, and for any other remaining expense that you have to cover on your cost of attendance, you can use Grad Plus loans to do so. Grad Plus loans, like I said, have higher interest rate and higher origination fee, and you would have to go through a first credit check. So if you've defaulted of or have been a delinquent on like a loan before, or have experienced some kind of like foreclosure or repossession, that you might fall under adverse credit. And so if that's the case, please talk to us, come to our office, and our advisors will guide you through and how to navigate that. Um, the California Dream Loan and private student loans are the other loans available for non-FAFSA eligible students. And for the California Dream Loan, if you are eligible for the AB 540 tuition exemption, you can apply for the California Dream Act application in order to get that dream loan, which you can get awarded up to $4,000 a year. For private student loans, we generally advise that students do not take out private loans unless they have to, just because they have higher interest rates and higher origination fees. They're subject to credit checks. And they typically they don't qualify for for the loan repayment assistance program, and they don't qualify for any federal programs helping assisting you with your loans or with loan repayment or loan forgiveness. So unless you have to, we generally advise students not to take out private loans. Um, and for other UC Berkeley loans, we do have short-term emergency loans and bar study loans. For short-term emergency loans, these are emergency loans in the case that you have experienced unanticipated emergency expenses. You could borrow an emergency loan, and these are typically interest fee. They do have a $20 administrative fee and do require you to repay the loan within 60 days, just because it is an emergency loan. The next is bar study loans. And actually direct bar fees, which are like registration fees and application fees, are included when we are determining your student budget / cost of attendance. But I know a lot of students have applied for bar study loans because they are incurring, expenses related to preparation for the bar, which are indirect expenses. Indirect expenses that requires like that usually includes like living expenses and or transportation fees. And so if that is the case, come talk to us and we'll also guide you through getting a bar study loan. So next is financial aid packaging timeline. We're just gonna go through kind of like a quick timeline of how that may look like in the next month or two. But everyone is aware that there have been a lot of problems with the FAFSA rollout this year, and so that have caused a lot of hiccups and delays, not only from our end, but like pretty much, I guess, all other financial aid offices across the nation. So with that in mind, we are anticipating to get your financial aid packages out on Cal Central by mid-May, but this is subject to change just because of the delays that's been happening with the FAFSA rollout. We don't know what else could happen. Hopefully not, fingers crossed. But we just wanted to let you know that we will try to get them out by mid-May, unless stated no if there's any changes that happen. For private loans and dream loans, they have varying timelines. So we ask that you speak to us if you are highly considering and taking out those two types of loans, just so we can better advise you on those timelines, and also on even like applying for those loans, please talk to us if you are interested in them, so we can better guide you. Um, Loan acceptance, so when you've gotten your financial aid package on Cal Central, you're gonna have to accept it, and there are a couple things that you would have to do in order to successfully accept your loans. First is the terms and conditions. You would have to agree to them. You would have a couple of checklist to-dos, and that usually includes entrance counseling and signing the master promissory note. The reason why I included it in today's presentation is because these are very, I guess, simple things that are easily overlooked by a lot of students, but they matter because they can potentially delay the disbursement of your financial aid funds. And so moving on to our next point, financial aid funds, the earliest that they can be dispersed is 10 days before the semester begins. The delays that we've seen happen with a lot of students is usually due to them not completing the master promise, not signing the master promissory note or doing like entrance counseling. So emphasizing to complete your checklist so you can better prepare for your semester and your funds dispersed in a timely manner, and then you don't get into like a panic on how to handle everything like time management wise. Um, in the case that those funds have dispersed to you and you kind of come to a realization that, oh, I don't really need these loans that I borrowed anymore, or I only need this much, you do have um the chance to return all or partial of that to us within 120 days without being charged the interest fees or other loan related fees associated with those loans. But past 120 days, you would have to pay it back to your lender. So we're almost there. Is kind of our last slide. So what can you do now to prepare? Submit your FAFSA, get that in time so that we'll get your information. We are anticipating to get student information by the end of this month, early April. Um, and then packaging them by mid-May, like I said. Apply for outside agency scholarships. I cannot stress this enough. There are a lot of scholarships out there that are available to you. So please utilize our website and look through them. And a lot of the materials that are needed for these outside agency scholarships are already materials that you most likely already have. A lot of these materials are the materials that you've submitted for your admission. So you can just paraphrase them, drag drop, um, whatever you have to do to get those scholarship applications in. And next, please calendar our next session in May. We will provide more information on the next steps to do. We'll also provide some updates. Sometime in July, we're thinking of hosting an outside agency scholarship search and application panel slash workshop. So if that's something that you're interested in, please keep your eyes peeled. For the other things to consider, housing, residency changes, ship waiver, public interest related financial support. We will cover that in our May session. So please attend because these are great information to know. They're also included in the financial resources list that I provided. Right here, there's the barcode has made a reappearance. Please take a picture, utilize that list, look through the other things to consider tab to look at information on housing for grad students, the residency change process, ship waiver, and LRAP/PSLF. And with that, Any other questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat.
Hi, Aubrey. So there
Yeah.
was a question from international student, and I accidentally said the questions already answered live. So I'm gonna answer the question real quick. International students do not have to complete FAFSA application, although if you have ITIN number, you may be able to complete the FAFSA application, but it's truly not needed for UC Berkeley, only because we're not using the FAFSA application to make any need-based aid determination. We are only utilizing the FAFSA application to offer federal student loans. So if you are not interested in borrowing federal student loans, or if you're not eligible to borrow federal student loans, you do not have to complete FAFSA application. For international students, however, we have a specific webpage created for international student resources on our website, and you'll be able to find the link for our Berkeley International Office and the scholarships that they offer specifically for international students. As Aubrey mentioned, outside agency scholarships are available. We have private student loans that's also available for international students. So please check our website, and if you have any further questions about finding resources for international students, please reach out to our office.
I have a question for Rosanna. Question in the chat. When is tuition and fees due, given that the loans don't disperse until 10 days before the semester?
Thank you. So tuition is due the Friday before classes begin. So the law school typically starts about a week earlier than main campus. You'll have those dates available to you. Actually, I believe they're available already. So Friday before is when it's due. When aid disperses 10 days prior, usually it takes about 3 to 5 days if you're planning on receiving any type of a refund to use for living expenses. 3 to 5 days after disbursement. So typically you'll see your balances paid before the bill is due based on the 10 days prior to.
Another question about reconsideration. Do you have a sense of what percentage of admitted students who apply for reconsideration are granted additional gift aid?
There is really, I don't really have a sense in terms of like a percentage. It's just really highly recommended because, as I advise a lot of students on, the reconsideration phase is essentially a separate review of your entire application. If you submitted that SGA, it's a separate review, an additional review, I should say, of your need-based, information. So it really is a good opportunity to have that looked over by a separate committee is what it even happens. So I don't want to say, the chances are high, but there are students that do not get initial gift aid. They apply for reconsideration and they do end up with some amount of gift aid. So if you are considering it, thinking about it at all, it's still definitely recommended because it is, again, just another opportunity to be reviewed and considered.
All right, if you want to answer it right straight away, you can.
Another question, is there a grace period or late fees for tuition payments? Also, is there a payment plan similar to the undergraduate schedule? So as of right now, there's no late fee penalties because it was instituted in COVID times. I don't know if that's going to change. Lauren, if you have any updated information on that at this point. Okay. So we'll be sure to send that information out because it will be considered new and updated information if there are. So you'll have that information, but typically how it's been in the past was, I want to say any outstanding balance after 30 days is subject to late fee. So, but we'll have more information there for you. And then their payment plan, yes, there is a fee payment plan or FPP. And there is a deadline to apply for that. So typically, off the top of my head, I want to say it's like the first or second week of classes that you can, so meaning your bill is already past due a couple weeks, you can apply for that. And then it breaks it down into 5 payments. So instead of your bill being due on one chunk, you're able to make monthly payments at 5 different times this semester. There is a $60 fee. So you make sure that you are definitely committed to it because the fee is non-refundable. And another thing we like to advise our students on is if you're going to borrow loans, typically a large amount of loan that's going to pay down all the balance, you do not want to apply for a fee payment plan because it will, once dispersed 10 days before classes, it will essentially pay down your entire balance and you would have paid that fee payment plan for no reason. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're going to borrow loans, but yes, there is that option if you need it.
Right, I'll wait about another minute or so for any other questions. And then, that will be the end of our session for today. Yeah, it's, seems like no other questions are gonna come in, but, if anything pops up after the session or in between until our next session, um, feel free to contact us. Our office hours are from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday for walk-ins. We do host Zoom office hours every Tuesdays and Thursdays. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Tuesday, and on Thursday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. You could also email us at financial-aid@law.berkeley.edu or schedule an appointment with us, whether it be in person, virtually, or through phone. And my wonderful board here will lead you to our webpage, which you can do all of those things. But thank you everyone for attending today's session. I hope we answered all your questions. And like I said, if you have any other questions, let us know. Thank you. I will be stopping the recording and ending it. Bye everyone.